I wanted to share with you guys how I made this super easy cake for my friend's son. So the first thing I did was bake 2 boxes of cake mix. I used box cake mix, the funfetti, and did a half a sheet cake and a 9 by 13. I stacked them one on top of another, and then I cut out the rough shape of a rainbow. Nothing fancy, nothing, high tech or difficult, just eyeballed it and cut out the best that I could. The outside I rounded off pretty well. I mean, you can do some adjusting with frosting, and then of course later on you can always go back and clean it up a little bit more, which you'll see here in a minute. But once you get the rough rainbow shape, it's time to do your icing. I'm using the simple icing gels, the Wiltons, to dye my frosting. And on the back of the cake I put just a good layer of the red. It's hard to get red icing. This is almost as red as I got. You'll see later that I do get it a little bit darker, not so pink, but red frosting is just difficult. So the next thing I'm going to do is my orange, and in my piping bag you can use whatever tip you want, and I used different tips throughout the entire cake, but I just used one of the flat tips and zigzagged back and forth throughout the cake. Filled in any holes and gaps with the extra frosting. And onto the yellow. I'm using the same exact piping bag, one because I'm cheap, two because I kind of like the effect that it makes. It kind of gives it a nice blend between the orange and the yellow, along with the star tip, as you can see here, and just making some stars. And I'm filling them back in with a brighter yellow to create kind of like a second layer of the yellow. Now for the green, I am at first twirling and kind of zigzagging in with it looks like a V, kind of like an upside down V tip, and then coming back through and creating a line, just kind of bouncing the piping bag up and down to create the effect, kind of like the ribbon effect that you see there. Now for the blue, I have a smaller star tip, and I am twirling around the star tip, not actually creating stars, but just giving it a nice twirl throughout. This is back to the part where I said it doesn't have to be perfect because you can find flaws later on, and here's one of them. I didn't quite round it enough. With the extra blue icing, I'm just creating a little border around the outside, kind of add a little bit more color, but also not waste icing. So for the purple, I'm using a knife to spread it on the inside, do the best I can. Clearly I'm not the cleanest baker. And I'm putting the remaining purple in my piping bag that already had the blue icing in it. And I used a star tip, and I'm going through and blending the blue to the purple with the star tip that's kind of a mix in the bag. After you've completed with that icing, you're going to kind of clean up any messes you may have made. You could use foil underneath too, but I always feel like it pulls the icing away from the cake. I don't know. I just find it easier to clean it up a little bit. Once you finish putting your border on the inside of the cake, you can add a little red to the top of the outside of the cake. You could have also done this, in between the orange and the red or whatever. And after you finish that, you're going to create clouds. I have a very, very large star tip in a big bag, and I am putting white, fluffy, twirly balls of icing on the end of either side of the rainbow, putting a few in the middle for decoration, and that is it. You can see the red are on the outside of this cake now too. So that's all I did to create this rainbow cake. It's incredibly easy. It's just color. Color in cake is gorgeous. Here you can kind of see the texture that it created with the different tips. You could use any tips that you have. It was honestly just a luck of the draw. Whatever I happen to pull out of my tote is the icing, or the tip that icing received. So that is the finished cake. I hope that he loves it as much as I love it. I think it's so much fun. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you later.